Today we're into Modern to blow up some lands and collect some taxes. So here is our tax collector deck for Modern. As you can see, $300 in paper, which awkwardly in 2024 almost makes it a budget deck considering how expensive decks are in Modern these days. In this deck, I'm really excited about for a couple of reasons. We get to try out not just one, but two new things that I've wanted to try out for a minute now. So first off, we have our namesake tax collector, which I think might be the best Modern card from the Assassin's Creed set. So with 2 mana 2/2, that when it ETBs, either tax your opponent, so their spells cost 1 more to cast until your next turn, or you arrest, which is detain a creature an opponent controls, so it can't attack or block or activate its abilities until your next turn. So tax collector, it's got some big upsides compared to other options like Phelia. The biggest is the tax mode taxes everything. So it's not just taxing non-creature spells, it's taxing creatures too, making it a huge tempo play. Plus it can kind of be temporary removal on a creature. And by itself, just as a one-shot, it's kind of okay, right? It's just like a tempo play, slows your opponent down a little bit. But where it gets really exciting is our deck is built to blink tax collector a bunch of times. We got Ephemerate, which can blink it 2 turns in a row. We have Phelia, which can theoretically blink it every turn. So once we get rolling, hopefully we can just make our opponent's spells cost 1 more to cast forever, which is super duper powerful. The other thing we get to try, since we're playing Ephemerate and Phelia, is a new land destruction plan built around White Orchid Phantom in Leonin Arbiter. So White Orchid Phantom, one of my favorite cards for Modern Horizons 3, a 2 mana 2/2 flying first striker that when it ATBs, you blow up a non-basic land, then its controller gets to search for a basic land, put it into play tapped. So this is good against like Tron or whatever by itself, but if we add Cat Jesus Leonin Arbiter to the mix to make it so players can't search their libraries unless they pay 2, we can hopefully just turn White Orchid Phantom into essentially a sinkhole that leaves behind a 2/2 flying first strike body. And again, we can do the blink shenanigans where we like get down the Arbiter, we White Orchid Phantom, we blow up one of your lands, we Ephemerate it, we blow up another land, we Phelia it, we blow up another land. We also have Ghost Quarter as a backup, works really well with Leonin Arbiter. If our opponent can't actually search up a basic because they can't pay the Arbiter tax, it just turns into strip mine that's legal in Modern. So those are the 2 main engines of our deck. We also have Giver of Runes just to protect our pieces. We get Recruiter the Guard, which can tutor up pretty much everything in our deck. Plus it can get some spicy one-ofs like a Thraben Inspector for card advantage, Delny to double up our triggers, blow up even more lands, tax even harder, Skyclave Apparition for removal, Solitude gives us even more removal, and then we have Ether Vial, which is actually super key to the deck. If we have Ether Vial on turn 1, not only do we do a ton of ramping, we're just putting creatures into play each turn for free once we get it on 2 or 3 counters, but it's also a way we can put our things into play at instant speed, which is super strong. So it's one of those cards that if we have this in our opening hand, arguably the best card in our deck. If we don't have it in our opening hand and we draw it on like turn 4, it's pretty slow and clunky, but still totally worth it in the deck. Mana base, Witch Enchanter is our MDFC, and then we talked about the Ghost Quarters. Flagstones works well if we want to blow up our own lands with White Orchid Phantom, a Jano Castle, a Jano Sea of the Empire, some plains in the sideboard, a bit of removal, some Stony Silences to shut down Shuko, and a bunch more taxi creatures. Ether's Warren Cannon is for Storm, Phyrexian Revoker can shut down Shuko or the One Ring, Sanctifier and back, Core Firewalker protection, even Interrupter for control matchups, Skyclave for more removal, Fairy Macabre to deal with graveyards, and that is Tax Collector for Modern. That's our deck for today, so let's jump into a Modern League and see if this new land destructing, tax collecting version of Death and Taxes can actually keep up in our super strong MH3 Modern format. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/MTG Goldfish. We are trying to collect some taxes in Modern, seeing if this new Assassin's Creed card actually, is it good enough? Is it good enough for Modern? Let's try to find out. In this hand, ooh, it's kind of an awkward Ghost Quarter because of the White Orchid Phantom, but I like this hand. We're going to keep it. We'll draw another White Source at some point, I assume. Opponent going to start with a Mishra's Bauble and Steam Vents. Huh. Must be a Tamiyo deck. Ooh. Well, in that case, we'll play Ether Vial. And now we don't need white mana, period. Actually, we still wouldn't mind drawing white mana, but that was a pretty good draw. Ether Vial's so good on turn 1. Less good in the future. Gonna dash a Ragavan. Okay, well, we're gonna take 1 Ragavan hit, unfortunately. So the opponent's gonna get the treasure. We should be able to stop future Ragavan hits. All right, steals a White Orchid Phantom. Well, we untap, take up the Vial. play a plains. I think we just pass for now. Yeah, I think this makes the most sense. We can Vial in the Thrabes. We can flash in the Phelia. If they dash the monkey, we should be able to stop it. Pound it. Mishra's Bobble. How bad is our opponent flipping a Tamiyo? Hopefully we can attack it. Are we dashing Ragavan? I'm gonna go for it. A little riskier with a Vial being activated. All right, they're just going to cast the Ragavan. Pass the turn. Vial in Thrabes. Get a clue. Do we flash in Phelia? I guess we should. If they counter it, I guess that's fine. Let's flash in the Phelia. Let's it go for now. I'm just gonna bolt it. All right, bolts the Phelia, sure. Ooh, and cracks the fetch. I wonder how many basics they're playing. Gets a Thundering Falls. Leaves it on top. All right, so we untap. Take up the Vial to 2. Opponent gets to draw a card. Oh, another Ephemerate. The question is, do we risk tapping down without Ephemerate? We could just pay Downy, Violin, White Orchid Phantom, but then we have no Ephemerates up. I think we got to play it patiently. We're going to play the Ghost Quarter. I think we really need to leave up the Ephemerates here. So we'll pass. We can Violin the White Orchid Phantom. If our opponent tries to kill stuff, we can use Ephemerates to save it. We can probably crack our clue. Expressive Iteration. I think we want the Vial, probably on 3. I mean, with these Ephemerates and the White Orchid, man, if we could only draw Leonin Arbiter, we would really blow up some lands. But even as we are now, we can start attacking the mana base. They just probably have a decent amount of basics. Opponent going to Preordain. And Mishra's Bobble. Opponent's casting a lot of spells. I don't know how much they're actually doing, but they are casting a lot of spells. No attacks. Well, we will Ether Vial. Put the White Orchid Phantom into play. Blow up a land. No basics? How about no basics? Opponent has a basic. Well, 1, 2, we'll crack our clue. Draw Solitude. That could have value at some point. Well, let's take up the Vial to 3. Play the Ghost Quarter. Hit ya. Gonna take the beats. And yeah, we'll just pass the turn. Opponent. Gonna crack the Scalding Tarn. Untapped. Oh boy. What does our opponent have that costs 4 mana? Opponent going to play a big Murktide Regent. Okay. Now we're gonna have to Solitude that at some point. And then a Tamiyo. And Steam Vents. Well, let's Ether Vial. Put Downy into play. And do we just fire off an Ephemerate? They have 3 cards in hand. Let's Ephemerate the Thraben Inspector. About it. Going to counterspell. So Ephemerate the Thraben Inspector. Get a couple of clues. Second clue to draw a card. Giver of Runes. Well, we will untap. Ephemerate comes back. Blink the White Orchid Phantom, or do we just need the card draw? Yeah, let's blink Thraben Inspector again. I think we need the card advantage more than we need to blow up a land here. So make a clue. Ether Vial. Gonna keep it on 3. Ooh, Recruiter of the Guard. So Ether Vial. Put a Recruiter of the Guard into play. Double triggers. Thanks to Downy. Recruiter of the Guard. Let's go Tax Collector. Number 1. Number 2. Maybe another Recruiter of the Guard, actually. Yeah, let's take another Recruiter of the Guard. Play Tax Collector. Spells cost 1 more. And spells cost 1 more. Let's just go all the way. And then we will crack a clue. And we will Solitude, pitching Giver of Runes. Get rid of Murktide Regent. So opponent spells 2 more this turn, thanks to Double Tax Collector, thanks to Downy, thanks to Recruiter of the Guard, thanks to Ether Vial. About it. Would you like to pay a lot of mana to do anything? Wow, the 4 mana Expressive Iteration. Okay, that's pretty good. So that's our opponent's 1 spell for the turn. Because they don't have enough mana to cast additional spells. So it's not even a good Expressive Iteration. I guess they can hit a land off of it. Opponent finds another land. Well, okay, we will untap. This is actually going kind of well. Vial gonna stay on 3. We draw plains. Blow up the Spirebluff Canal. Blow up the Thundering Falls. Let's do a little basic check. Let's see how many basics you got going on over there, opponent. Opponent's gonna float a red mana. How many basics do you got? You got number 4. Okay, 3 basics. Well, now we will pass, see if our opponent uses their mana. We want to double Recruiter of the Guard when our opponent can't kill our Recruiter of the Guard. We still can't really attack very effectively, but what we can do is Ether Vial. Okay, opponent's going to Unholy Heat the Delny. All right, that is annoying, that is annoying. Well, we still get to put the Recruiter into play, but no Delny. Recruiter, only 1 tutor this time. Let's take the Phelia. Opponent. Third expressive iteration. All right, opponent, drawing all the cards. Tax Collector felt really good there. Unfortunately, they had the Unholy Heat to kill the Delny. Double Tax Collector is kind of really good. Finds another Murktide Regent. How do we deal with a second Murktide? That's the real question. Opponent runs out the Murktide. I guess we gotta find another Solitude. All right, opponent has 2 cards in hand. Going to pass. Well, I mean, we're gonna run out the Phelia. Has a counterspell. All right, 1 card in hand. We untap. Hopefully we draw some action. Ether Vial staying on 3. We draw another Phelia. Crack a clue, draw a card. It's a Tax Collector. Play the Tax Collector. Detain the Murktide Regent. Oh, I wish we could attack. Yeah, okay, pass the turn. So awkward. Opponent untaps and preordains. All right, 2 to the top. 1's a Mishra's Bauble. And opponent cracks a Mishra's Bauble. Gonna take a peek at our draw. Gonna go attacking with the Tamiyo. So we're gonna try to flip the Tamiyo, I guess. This does work for them, right? If they crack the clue, this will be their 3rd card drawn. Yep, gonna crack the clue, draw a card, flip the Tamiyo. Yeah, that's an issue. Opponent takes up the Tamiyo. Well, Vial gonna stay on 3. Opponent gets to draw even more cards. Yeah, we're just getting ground out by card advantage here. Solitude. Well, there were times when that would have been really nice. I just don't have any faith in it resolving here. They've used 2 counters, 2 counters. So odds of another one in hand pretty high. I guess we just have to pass the turn. So we could Ghost Quarter away their red mana. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to pass for now. This has been a very grindy game. Good God. Well, we've pulled ahead in clock, which with how this matchup has been playing out, might actually be relevant. Opponent's going to tick down Tamiyo to get a preordain. And then preordains 2 to the bottom this time. Gonna go to combat. Opponent. Yeah, I guess we just take the 8 for now. Yeah, let's take the 8. I think we're gonna flash in the Phelia this turn and wait on the Solitude. Opponent gonna pass. Well, we will Phelia. Opponent. Counterspell number 3. Ugh, a Plains. That is not what we were hoping for. Untap. Vial. Gonna stay on 3. Is it gonna stay on 3? Should we take it up to 5? Yeah, it's gotta stay on 3. We draw a Ganjo. Attack the Tamiyo. Play the Plains, pass the turn. Can we deal with this Murktide? That's the question. And Misty Rainforest. And even more Tamiyos. And opponent gonna go to combat. Well, I think we gotta try this. We might get blown out here, but block and block. Ooh, first strike damage. Oh my God. A Ganjo? A Ganjo? Huh, White Orchid Phantom. Saving our bacon. The damage is already on the Murktide because of first strike. So our opponent, even if they have a bolt or something, it isn't going to change the fact that this Murktide is about to die. That's going to happen. I was afraid they would see it coming once we double blocked and figure like what else could it possibly be, but apparently not. Opponent going to pass. Do we start ticking this up for the Solitude? We're going to keep it on 3. Okay, maybe we should start taking it up. Well, let's go to combat. Opponent gonna block. Opponent gonna block. All right, opponent goes to 14. We're gonna start flashing in Solitudes here. We want to flash in the Solitudes because we actually do want to start Ghost Quartering these Steam Vents, I think. Because we know our opponent's out of basics. Opponent, Spire Bluff Canal. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's cast a Solitude. Invert Polarity. Are we gonna high roll? No. Okay, well, they get to keep their Tamiyo, which means they get to make a clue. But then they actually take a pretty big attack on the backswing here. So opponent gets the clue. We take 0. Opponent gonna pass. All right, well, we untap. Ether Vial. Staying on 3. It's staying on 3. Leonin Arbiter. Gonna take the beats down to 5. Yeah, let's just pass the turn. Opponent's gonna crack the clue. Well, we will use this window to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Solitude. Get rid of the Tamiyo. And now we will definitely blow up a Steam Vents with a Ghost Quarter. I mean, it has not been quick. It has not been easy. There have been many Murktides and invert polarities, but it looks like our horde of 1/1s and 2/2s might be very, very slowly getting there. Opponent gonna bolt the Solitude. Well, Vile, we've stayed on 3 this long. We're staying on 3 again. Keep it on 3, draw planes, go to combat. Getcha? Oh. Well, Tax Collector did some work there. Wow, okay. That was actually like all of our little pieces eventually added up to something pretty powerful. It wasn't super easy, but we got there. And the double Tax Collector really, and the detaining of the Murktide Tax Collector actually felt pretty solid. I will say pretty solid. Probably won a couple paths. The Interrupters could also be, well, are they solid? They're solid against counter spells. What do we cut though is the real question. The Downly was actually really solid there, like surprisingly good. It did die, but until it died, it was very good. So the paths are a pretty clean answer to things. I could see Sanctifiers being worth it. Maybe we go down like 1 Recruiter of the Guard, 1 Phelia, 1 Tax Collector. I really want 1 Sanctifier, I think. 1 Sanctifier for 1 Recruiter. Let's try it like that. 3 of everything. Let's just play 3 of all of our best cards and hope for the best. This hand cannot cast anything. So I think we got a mulligan. This hand, all right, we'll keep this. I guess Solitude to the bottom. Yeah, let's put Solitude to the bottom. All right. Well, I mean, in Aether Vial we trust. If we're gonna cast anything this game, or get anything on the battlefield, probably gonna involve this Aether Vial. Land? Giver of Runes. Well, land and Aether Vial, go. We have the Arbiter White Oak Red Phantom combo, which is cool. Preordain. An opponent might be having their own mana difficulties. I really hope we draw land. If we don't draw land, then our opponent knows. Blow up the Aether Vial. Sends a pretty strong message, so that is the correct thing to do. Opponent finds a Misty. Cracks it. Steam Vents. Untapped. And Tammy. Ooh. Take up the Vial. Draw a Tax Collector. Well, I think we just have to pass for now, unfortunately. Opponent. If things go like super wrong, we can path the Tamiyo, although it gets a lot better. It gets a lot better once we get the Arbiter down. Opponent gets in. Clue. They might be just digging for lands. For some reason, it feels that way. I don't know. We'll see if they crack this Clue main phase. Well, they have Expressive Iteration. All right, so they're going to hit their lands, that's for sure. Also got to keep an eye on the clock. We're ahead by like 40 seconds at the moment. Well, let's Aether Vial. Put a Giver of Runes into play. Untap. Take up the Vial to 2. All right, there's a land. So play the land. Aether Vial. Leonin Arbiter into play. And White Orchid Phantom. When this is a sinkhole that leaves behind a 2/2 flying first strike body, the card is absurd. And I think that's what we've managed. Wow, opponent's gonna subtlety. Okay. I mean, this is kind of okay. Sure. We'll put it back on top. So our opponent, they dealt with it for now, but it's still coming, and our opponent had to go down 2 cards to do that, pitching another Expressive Iteration. Our opponent might be trying to set up the Tamiyo flip, which makes sense, but we have bodies that can attack the Tamiyo. Opponent gonna get in, gonna try to make a Clue. Yep, makes another Clue. So if they have a land, they could flip Tamiyo. I don't know if it's worth it, but they could. The clues are stacking up. Wow, they are missing the land drops. They can crack the clues to try to find lands, but I mean, I guess we're also missing land drops. So they want to be able to pay for the Arbiter, I assume, is probably what they're trying to set up when we go to blow up the land. Passes. Well, Aether Vial. Gonna stay on 2 for now. And we will go to combat, get in with the Arbiter, hit ya, gonna take it. We will pass the turn. Feels good to have an Aether Vial, just being able to put things into play instant speed. So if they go to crack a clue, oh, they're gonna dress down? In response, we get to Aether Vial, put the White Orchid Phantom into play, blow up your Steam Vents, path your Tamiyo. All right, and then you can dress down. This lets them kill something through the Giver of Runes if they want to. But we kind of got our value out of it. We put them down a land, and we got a free path to get rid of the Tamiyo. Opponent, gonna bolt the Arbiter. Snow-covered island. And Dragon Rage Shanala. All right, passes, the dress down goes away. So we untap. Vial still sticking on 2. We draw planes, so I'll play the planes. I think we just pass for now. Actually, so if we vial that in, enchantment, land, creature, sorcery. So they're still gonna have, even if we Sanctify her, they're still gonna have the DRC turned on. I mean, I guess we do it now though. Let's Ether Vial. This gets cards out of the graveyard for a potential Murktide. So let's put the Sanctifier into play. Opponent's gonna crack a clue to draw a card. So now they have to attack with a DRC, which means maybe we can just race? A Murktide would still be obnoxious just because it's gonna be kind of, well, it's not actually gonna be that big. There's not many spells in the graveyard. It would be like a 3/3. Lightning Bolt on the Giver of Runes. Leaves it on top. All right, big draw. How about a big draw here? I don't know if that exactly counts as a big draw. Well, go to combat, get in, hit you. Down to 11. Well, let's play the planes. Opponent's gonna crack the clue. Oh, I don't know if it's worth tax collecting here or not. I think we wait. I think we might actually need the detain mode at some point. Down to 14. Passes. Well, Vial. Keep it on 2 for now. At some point, we'll go up to 3. Solitude. Well, go to combat. Do some attacking. Takes it. Well, pass the turn. I think this tax collector might win us the game. Opponent goes to 6. Steam Beds. Tapped. I mean, what we're hoping to set up is just like tax collector, detain a blocker, swing for 6, win the game. Brotherhood End, to destroy each artifact with mana value 3 or less. Well, in that case, I think we Ether Vial, put a tax collector into play, make your spells cost 1 more. An opponent has to attack with the DRC. Tax collector means they can't cast any spells. Swing in for lethal. Well, that was a really grindy, long game, but in the end, we taxed him. We collected the taxes. And tax collector itself actually felt pretty good. Well, not a fast win, but that was a pretty impressive win. We are trying to collect some more taxes in Modern, and we'll keep this. I think we can keep this. No Ether Vial. We got a bunch of Ephemerates, which could do something eventually. Not the fastest hand. We got Leon and Arbiter if we find a Ghost Quarter or 2. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. See what our opponent's up to. Opponent. Adele. I think this is the Willy. Oh no, mono black. Scam away. There's a Grief, pitching a Soul Spike. This might not go well. Oh, there goes a Phelia, and here comes the Malachar Rebirth. Grief returning again, and it is Leon and Arbiter. Well, I mean, we drew another Leon and Arbiter, which we'll play. I don't know, our opponent's mono black, so I'm not sure how much it actually matters, but we will see. I don't know if they really have fetches. Inquisition of Kozilek. Well, we're not going to have much left in hand, are we? There goes the Recruiter of the Guard. Hit us for 3. Well, come on, deck. Is this the 1 land all Fault Sea Sand? No. Malachar Rebirth. Well, we draw planes. Doesn't really do much at the moment, but get in there. We could use a... Oh, man. White Orchid Phantom would be sweet to get rid of this Malachar Rebirth. If our opponent drops a Necro, we're suddenly in really, really sorry shape. Grief hits us down to 14. I mean, getting triple Thought Seeds is always tough. Blue to Delta. Opponent passes. Come on, deck. Giver of Runes. Not the best time for the Giver of Runes, but I guess it's better than drawing literally nothing. It is close to drawing literally nothing, but slightly better. With 2 Ephemerates in hand, we already have so many ways to protect our creatures from targeted removal. My big concern here is Necro being dropped. That's what I think makes us probably lose. Well, really, I guess it's being Thoughtseize 3 times. Wow, did not crack the fetch. That surprises me. I would assume, I was thinking they were setting up the pay for the Arbiter crack the fetch plan, but I guess we can Ephemerate the Arbiter to reset it. All right, there's an Urborg to turn on the fetch, and a Sheoldred. Well, that's an issue. We draw a Recruiter of the Guard, which is better than nothing-ish. Play the Recruiter of the Guard. We don't get to tutor. but we do get a blocker. Opponent. Yeah, this is not looking great. Next turn, we can actually like pay for the Arbiter. We're just so far behind though. We can pay for the Recruiter next turn. We can pay for the Arbiter and blink the Recruiter. But at that point, I think we're still just pretty dead. March of Wretched Sorrow to kill the Giver. Yeah. All right, this one's just over. Well, turns out getting scammed. Pretty painful. So what do we have that can actually fight against this deck? The Sanctifier and Vex seem really good. Skyclave can deal with an Emrakul. Or not an Emrakul, a Shieldred. Might as well be an Emrakul. How do we stop a Necro, though? So it's kind of a weird matchup because our opponent's a monocolor deck, so they have so many basics that are Leonin Arbiter, White Orchid Phantom Plan, probably not going to be especially effective. This might just be a bad matchup. A bad matchup for our deck. I mean, bring in like a couple paths, maybe? I mean, maybe the Canonist is worth it. Like, if our opponent's on the Necro, but they're just going to draw into an answer to the Necro, right? I guess the Interrupters can slow it down. The problem is if our Disruption isn't good, it's going to be tricky because our clock is not especially fast. And our opponent's deck really good at gaining life. Are we cutting the Arbiters? We probably got to at least cut a couple White Orchid Phantoms because they just don't really do anything. Since our opponent just has so many basics in their deck. I mean, I guess pulling up an Urborg has some value. Well, Downey's gonna die. Couple paths in. Maybe we just try it like that. Maybe we go down like a couple Arbiters, a couple Phantoms. I think that's probably our best bet because they just don't seem great in this matchup. Well, all right, don't scam us. It's a lot of Ghost Quarters that don't really do anything. I think we have to mulligan this in. We have to mulligan this in. All right, this one will keep. We will put a Leonin Arbiter to the bottom. This would be a really great turn to not get scammed because if we don't get scammed this turn, the Sanctifier can stop us from getting scammed in the future, and it's so good against Mono Black. But if we get scammed right now, or Thoughtseize, well, there goes the Sanctifier. Well, that's not good. We had our best card in the matchup, but, well, we do get to tax collect. The classic turn 2 Ether Vial. Well, let's play Ganjo, and yeah, I mean, I guess we run out the tax collector. Ether Vial is so much more brutal on turn 2. It's so good on turn 1. Turn 2, much less exciting. Bounty Polluted Delta. Crag's Polluted Delta. Grabs a Swamp. And Profane Tutor suspended. Play the Ether Vial. Play the Flagstones. Sack a Flagstones. Get a Plains. And get in with the tax collector, hit ya. Down to 16. The Profane Tutor ticking down. Yeah, our opponent's deck seems pretty tax-proof, don't it? To get rid of our Solitude. We really needed that Sanctifier. That would have made life so much better. All right, the Grief returns. Nothing to take from our hand, which I guess is a tiny bit of good news. And there's a Raccoon Theater, gonna do some surveilling. I mean, I guess there's some non-basic lands. The power of the surveil lands making Mono Black play non-basics. Well, let's take up the Ether Vial. We really need to draw something here. Well, Phelia is kind of something. It is something. Is it enough of something? That, not clear, especially with this Profane Tutor. I would have kept the Arbiters in, I guess, if I had considered Profane Tutor. That would have been probably worth it just to slow down the Profane Tutors. I imagine we're about to get Necroed. I don't know, our opponent's like kind of low on life. Maybe Shieldred? It's still Necro. All right, so opponent's gonna go Necro. I mean, this is kind of risky, right? This is kind of risky. Pays to 1. Do they hit March of Wretched Sorrows? They hit a Soul Spike. Okay, hits our face. And Fatal Push. Oh, all right, well, we're at the Phelia. We lose our tax collector. Come on, deck. Come on, deck. We need a real magic card here. Ether Vial is not it. Well, get in. Blank the Grief. To 3. Play the Vial. Oh, pass. This is the downside of Vial. Vial's such a strong card, but it's so bad off the top. It's like the deadest of draws off the top of the deck. Pound it. Swamp. And there's the Shieldred. Now this one is just over because the Shieldred actually gains life with the Necro, and we just don't have the reach to push through here. Yeah, it seems like a very tough matchup for a deck. Pound it. Shieldred goes up to 5, gaining life with the Necro. We untap. We'll give it one more draw. How about an Ether Vial? How about Ether Vial number 3 for the rub-ins? So this vial goes up to 3. This one goes up to 1. We draw a Plains and scoop it up. Yeah, at that point, there's just no winning. We are trying to collect some taxes in Modern. Is Tax Collector and White Orchid Phantom and Friends actually good enough? Good enough for Modern? That's what we're going to find out. This hand seems fine. Got a little Recruiter of the Guard, Leonin Arbiter, non-bow, but we could do the Solitude scamming if we need to, depending on what our opponent's up to. Bloodstained Mire cracks it for a Blood Crypt and Monastery Swiftspear. Ooh, okay. Well, Solitude scamming might actually be pretty good if our opponent's playing mono red. Passes. We will play a Plains and pass the turn. Yeah, I think our plan is hope our opponent plays another creature and we can get the 2-for-1 with Solitude. Opponent gets in. Well, if they don't cast a spell, we'll take 1. That's fine. Light up the stage. Ooh. All right. Bloodstained Mire and a Lava Spike. Opponent. Bloodstained Mire cracks it for a mountain. And there's a Lava Spike. Okay, so we will Solitude. We just need the lifelinker out. Let's pitch the Giver of Runes. Solitude, pitch the Giver of Runes. Get rid of the Swiftspear. Man, we got a bunch of pro red stuff in our sideboard. That should actually be really good if we can get that in. If we can somehow win game 1, being able to like Recruiter the Guard up, Core Firewalker, like it's 2013. So we will snipe the Swiftspear, and then sadly we will spend our Ephemerate here to keep. I think just having the lifelinker around makes it worth it. So Ephemerate to keep the Solitude. Opponent goes to 18. We, though, get to start gaining back life, which is kind of huge. So no reason to rebound. We draw a Plains. Well, get in with the Solitude, gain some life. Play a Plains. Play a Leonin Arbiter, which is actually a little awkward because we have this Recruiter of the Guard in hand, but we're going to pass. I mean, we're back up to 18, which is kind of big. The Arbiter might slow down our opponent a little bit. Actually, if they spend a removal spell on it, we're kind of fine with that. Opponent, Blackcleave Cliffs. Because now we can Recruiter of the Guard for something. Hopeless Nightmare. We'll discard the Witch Enchanter. And Skewer to get rid of the Solitude. All right, well, there's a Ghost Quarter. Go to combat. Get it with a Leonin Arbiter. And, I mean, I think we're going to Ghost Quarter here. Strip Mine in Modern. Pass the turn. We need our opponent to kill the Arbiter so we can recruit her. Slick Shot Show Off suspended. Well, there's a very slow Ether Vial. We'll play the land, play the Ether Vial. Go to combat. Get in, hit ya. Down to 11. Ooh, but a Slick Shot Show Off is coming. Opponent. So they're like a Rakdos Show Off deck? Interesting. Opponent, Swiftspear, and bump in the Night. Well, we're going to take some damage this turn. Down to 13, down to 8. Well, we really would like to draw something here. A way to get rid of this Slick Shot would be the best. We'll take up the Ether Vial. White Orchid Phantom. Well, okay, that's actually kind of good. Good enough. White Orchid Phantom, blow up your Black Source. Leonin Arbiter, can't tutor up a replacement, and 2/2 first strike, actually really good against Slickshot Show Off. Like, because Slickshot only pumps power, right? So this is going to be able to shut down the Show Off all day. The Arbiter's paying off. It's been a little clunky with the Recruiter of the Guard, but Cat Jesus is actually doing some work here. Opponent down to 1 land. We're not going to attack. We're going to stand defense. We're kind of okay with trading off this Arbiter if we have to. Lava Spike. Down to 5. Attacks. Well, we will block and block. We kill the Slick Shot. We lose the Arbiter, which is actually okay because we have Recruiter of the Guard. We get to tick up our Ether Vial. We draw Skyclave. So what are we going to recruit? Actually, an interesting question. Let's pull up our deck list here real quick. So we can tutor up and immediately pay a 2-drop. Oh, Tax Collector is actually really good, isn't it? Tax Collector means our opponent just can't play a spell that turn? Okay, let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Recruiter of the Guard. We will take a Tax Collector. Man, if only White Orchid Phantom could hit basic lands. So we will put a Tax Collector into play. Opponent, spell's going to cost 1 more next turn. And beat down with the White Orchid Phantom. We do need to close out the game before our opponent burns us out. Like, that is kind of the concern. Opponent goes to 9. Opponent untaps. Passes. Well, take up the Vial. Ooh, Solitude is interesting. Go to combat. Attack. Actually, do we attack with both? The question is, are we putting the Skyclave into play? Because if they have a lightning bolt, we get kind of blown out. Yeah, let's just attack with the Phantom. I think we need to hold on to the Skyclave for now because depending on what our opponent does, we might need to Solitude, eating one of our own creatures to gain life. Opponent, second Swift Spear. Oh, I think we have to risk it. We have to risk it. Ether Vial. Snipe a Swift Spear. White card? Any white card? Please? Any white card for Solitude. Plains. That is the one thing that's not a white card. Well, attack, attack, attack. Hit ya. Play the Plains. So close. Pass the turn. This does mean if our opponent finds a fetch, they can't fetch. If they find a shock, they can't play it untapped. And a bonus gives it up. We got there. Wow, we taxed them. We taxed them, and now we get to bring in our pro red stuff, which should be so good. So now we get to bring in Core Firewalker. we have the tech. We have the tech. Core Firewalker used to be a staple of modern sideboards. Pro red, whenever anyone plays a red spell, gain a life. It is the nightmare of our opponent. It is literally the nightmare. The paths also seem good. What are not as good? We probably don't need Delny. We can go down the Delny. Tax Collector actually was pretty solid there. White Orchid Phantom, Leonin Arbiter? Arbiter was good that game too, actually, honestly. We need to cut a bunch of cards. Probably gotta be 2-drops. I like that White Orchid Phantom can shut down a Slickshot Show Off. That's actually pretty relevant. Maybe like go down a Giver. Maybe we go down one Ephemerate. Couple of Leonin Arbiters and one Recruiter. Let's try it like that. I mean, really, we just want to find the pro red creatures. I don't know if we can keep it. We do have the Witch Enchanters, so we could Witch Enchant or Ether Vial. I think we mulligan. I think we just mulligan. Yeah, let's put Phelia to the bottom for now. Go Tax Collector, opponent. Blackleaf Cliffs and Hopeless Nightmare. Well, we will discard, unfortunately, a Tax Collector. Actually, you know what? Maybe we just discard the Ether Vial. Let's give up on the Ether Vial, and we'll just plan on casting. We'll just cast our spells. How about that? There's a path. Well, play the Thraben Inspector, get a clue, and pass the turn. I feel like Ether Vial might be, if we're already down a card and getting hit by a Thoughtseize, it might just be a luxury we can't really afford. Well, okay, maybe we can afford. Well, let's get in with Thrabes. Hit you for 1. Play a Plains, play an Ether Vial. Pass the turn. Path seems very good here. Slickshot Show Off is one of those cards where you really need the instant speed removal. Searing Blaze to take down the Thrabes. And Blackleaf Cliffs. And opponent. Gonna pass. Come on, Core Firewalker. Come on, Core Firewalker. Giver of Runes. Yeah, let's just pass. Actually, you know what? Let's play the Tax Collector. Put a little tax on your spells. And pass the turn. Opponent going to, wow, scry with Hopeless Nightmare. Okay. Well, that is not exactly a show of strength. If you're spending 3 mana to scry with Hopeless Nightmare, leaves 1 on top. We did go shields down with our path, but we're hoping that the Tax Collector maybe takes care of that for us. Like, how explosive of a turn can they possibly have if their spells cost 1 more? Opponent's going to suspend, or plot, rather, the Slickshot Show Off. Well, let's put the Giver into play. Untap. We actually have multiple answers now, which is sweet. Take up the Vial, because we can put the White Orchid Phantom into play too. Ooh, and an Ephemerate. I'll get her to hit ya. About it. Down to 16. We will pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I mean, once they Slickshot Show Off, we will answer it. Here's the Show Off. And skewer the critics our face. And light up the stage. What we would like to do is just block this Slickshot Show Off with the Phantom. Opponent Mountain. Lava Spike. Wow, this is going to be a very nice White Orchid Phantom. Down to 9. We are down to 9, which is awkward, but bad news opponent. Ether Vial for White Orchid Phantom to blow up one of your lands. And, wow, White Orchid Phantom is the answer. It is the answer to Slickshot Show Off. It is so perfect. Snipe it, and then we'll crack the clue. See if we can find our Core Firewalker somehow. Well, let's take up Vial to 3 in case we draw a Recruiter. Skyclave. Well, Skyclave's also good. Go to combat. Get in, hit ya. Get in, hit ya. We just gotta not get burned out somehow, opponent. Pass the turn. Can we close? We need 2 more turns of attacking. Mostly afraid to just burn spells. That's the scary part. Lava Spike, like Lava Spike, for example. Well, this is awkward, but we're actually going to put Skyclave into play here. Just to have another attacker. Vial, staying on 3. Giver of Runes, go to combat. Hit ya. Opponent, down to 6. Well, it all comes down to this. Play the Giver of Runes. And pass the turn and see if we die. So Barbarian Ring hits us to 4, which is thankfully not 1 Lightning Bolt range. They need 2 spells. Hopeless Nightmare is a spell. We will discard Path to Exile. Wow! Opponent gonna slow roll it for some unknown reason while we are dead to the Barbarian Ring. Oh my goodness. All right, on to game 3. Oh no. Wow, Exacxies. All right, well, we're on the play for game 3, which is nice. We were 1 card away. One card away. Couldn't find any of the pro red stuff. Couldn't find the Firewalker. Couldn't find a Solitude. And our opponent managed to just sneak in. Let's go back up the 4th Recruiter since it can find a Firewalker. And we are in the play of this game. Well, all right, deck. How about a reasonable hand? I mean, I guess we keep it. It does not have the cards that make us win the game. But let's play the Witch Enchanter tapped. Pass the turn. Untaps Blackcleave Cliffs. Monastery Swiftspear. Opponent gets in for 1. We draw a Solitude. Well, we'll play the Flagstones and run out a Tax Collector. Make your spells cost 1 more next turn. And pass the turn. And opponent, Bloodstained Mire cracks it. I mean, the Tax Collector should at least slow our opponent down a bit. Blood Crypt untapped. And another Swiftspear. Opponent passes. There's the Recruiter of the Guard. I mean, we have to play it, right? We have to. 1, 2, 3. Play the Recruiter of the Guard. Tutor up. Core Firewalker. And pass the turn. Gonna see on defense, we might just double chump block here, honestly. Just to keep our life total high and then trust that our secret sideboard tech, the best core in Magic, the only good core in Magic, perhaps, can actually swing this game in our favor. Searing Blaze to take down the Tax Collector. All right, so opponent's going to try to have their big turn. We can do the Solitude thing if we have to. So we go to 16 and light up the stage to draw a couple cards. Opponent's trying to cast their spells before the Firewalker comes down. Slickshot, Show Off, and Lightning Bolt. Gonna go to combat. Attack. Well, we will block with the Recruiter of the Guard. Drop to 13 for now. We draw another Solitude. Well, Core Firewalker. Pass the turn. All right, Firewalker. In you we trust. Opponent. Slickshot, Show Off. We get to gain a life. Thank you very much. Attacks with everything. So we will block the Swiftspear. Opponent, gonna bolt our face. So we will path the Slickshot, Show Off. Solitude, pitching Leonin Arbiter. The other Slickshot, Show Off. And take 0, or the other Monastery Swiftspear takes 0. Yes, we would definitely like to gain some life. All right, that wasn't too bad. So we're at 12. We draw on a Ganja, which we're actually going to play because we want to be able to play this Solitude. 1, 2, Tax Collector. Make your spells cost 1 more. And pass the turn. Another Slickshot, Show Off is kind of scary since we don't have a removal spell for it at the moment. Although if it's 3 mana and then you can't really cast another spell because of Tax Collector actually feels really solid. Like the taxing, even here in the mid game, is pretty relevant. Hitting any spell and not like non-creatures or something is pretty huge. Wow, Hopeless Nightmare. That is actually an insanely good one for our opponent because that gets rid of our Solitude and it's not a red spell. Well, we could be in trouble. Opponent has 4 cards in hand. Bloodstained Mire. Well, we will pass the turn. Man, is this slipping away even with the Core Firewalker? Our opponent gets to crack. They get to crack the Hopeless Nightmare to do some scrying. Is Core Firewalker not even good enough? I figured Core Firewalker was going to be the card that locked up this game, but it is not looking like it's necessarily good enough here. That Hopeless Nightmare was actually insanely good for our opponent. This Solitude, I think, would win us the game. Wow, 2 to the top? That is not encouraging. Oh, and they draw a Slickshot, Show Off, of course. And opponent. Yeah, we don't have an answer because of that Hopeless Nightmare. Casts a black spell called Bump in the Night. Gonna pump their dorks. And it looks like we might just be dead. Barbarian Ring to kill the Firewalker. Yeah, maybe Firewalker is not even good anymore. It is a colorless source of damage that can hit any target. Our opponent's janky burn plan working out. We draw an Ephemerate on an empty board and we scoop it up. And, well, maybe Tax Collector's not that good. We are attempting to collect some taxes in Modern, and I mean, I guess we're gonna keep this. That's a lot of lands, although we do have a 3-bin inspector and we can blink it with Ephemerate, so hopefully that can draw us into what we need here in this land heavy hand. Spire Bluff Canal and Preordain. Opponent passes. All right, not lands Magic Online. I know how you like to give me lands when I have a land heavy hand. I know it's your thing, but for once, how about just like some action? Maybe just some action. Well, we're gonna take up the Vial. And okay, Phelia. That is way better than another land, for sure. That counts as action. Well, play the plains, pass the turn. Opponent. Misty Rainforest. Passing. Well, we will put a 3-bin inspector into play. Make a clue. Crack the clue, draw a card, untap, tick up our Ether Vial to 2, get in with the 3-bin inspector. And I guess we just plains and pass. Don't really want to cast stuff into our opponent's counters. I think it's probably better just to try to Vial things into play here. Thundering Falls, leaves it on top. Opponent untaps, Flooded Strand, and more Preordains. So gotta be like a Tamiyo Murktide deck. That's the only thing that makes sense. And there's the Tamiyo. Passing. Well, let's Ether Vial. Put a Phelia into play. Untap. Tick up the Vial. Go to combat. Blink the 3-bin inspector. Opponent. Gonna block. Let's play a plains. And I think we just pass. We're going to play it slow. We could try to like Vial in the Recruiter of the Guard to get in Leon and Arbiter, play it in a White Orchid Phantom, but I kind of like the playing it safe plan here, especially since once we tutor up an Arbiter, our opponent's going to crack their fetch in response anyway. Opponent gets another Thundering Falls. So this turn we put the Recruiter into play. We still have our Ephemerate up. Opponent once again leaves the card on top with their Surveil land. So I feel like we might be in kind of good shape-ish. Opponent Island. We'll see what our opponent has. Galvanic Discharge to kill the Phelia. Yeah, I don't think that's worth spending a Ephemerate on here. Gonna get in. Make a clue. Hit us for 0. All right, well, we will Ether Vial. Put a Recruiter of the Guard into play. Recruit. Maybe we just go Delny. I mean, it still dies, but doubling our triggers is pretty strong. The other option is what? Get a Skyclave to deal with the Tamiyo. Let's go Delny. I think Delny is the best bet here. Crack the clue to draw a card. Another Phelia. Vial gonna stay on 3. A Ganjo Castle. So play the castle. Hit ya. What we really want to do is Ephemerate the Recruiter with a Delny out. I don't know how easy it's going to be to pull this off, but that's kind of the game plan. So we can Vial Delny, cast a White Orchid Phantom. Yeah, I think we just pass for now. I think we keep playing it slow. Gonna crack the clue. Opponent untaps. Plays a Spire Bluff Canal. Gonna go to combat. I mean, we're kind of slowly building up a decent board. So Tamiyo makes the clue. Opponent hasn't really tried to flip it yet. Opponent's gonna pass. Well, we will play Phelia. Ether Vial. Delny into play. Snapcaster. This might be good. If they're going Snapcaster Galvanic Discharge, this Ephemerate might be very impactful. It might be we'll see if our opponent has a second interaction spell in hand. Wait. Prevent the next 2 damage that would be out to target legendary creature this turn. Opponent has 0 energy, right? Prevent the next 2 damage to Delny? Did you just fall for our again OG Ganjo trap? Oh my god, it worked. It worked. Oh, that is huge. That is super huge. So we get to untap. Oh boy, this might be a turn. So we get to untap. Vial stays on 3. Not taking it up. We draw Giver. Well, 1-2. We will play a White Orchid Phantom. We will blow up the Spire Bluff Canal. We will blow up the Spire Bluff Canal. Opponent gonna float a blue mana. How many basics do you got? They probably have quite a few. Gets an island. You got a third? Gets an island. Well, let's play the Ghost Quarter. Let's go to combat so this mana goes away. Then we will Ephemerate the Recruiter of the Guard. It's going to double trigger because of the Downy. Oh, we're popping off. We are popping off. So we will take a Recruiter of the Guard, and we will take a Tax Collector. Attack. Blink the Recruiter of the Guard. Blink the White Orchid Phantom. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And opponent scoops it up, and we didn't even get to the tax collecting. We're going to blow up all of our opponent's lands. We're going to tutor him 2 more times and then tax collect him out of the game. That went really well. I mean, that deck it's such a funny deck. It feels like you're fighting and clawing for every advantage because it's not a just like run you over super fast style deck for sure. But once the deck gets going, it can really, I've been very impressed with Delmy. It's a really, really solid one of tutor target, it feels like. That's for sure. What are we cutting this time? The Interrupters seem decent. Actually, do they even seem decent? Maybe one of them. Kind of want the Firewalker. Kind of wouldn't mind a Sanctifier. Definitely would like to have a Ether Vial. That's one that really jumps out. If we have an Ether Vial, things go a lot easier. What can we cut? Seems like such a hard deck to make cuts with. The Phantom was good that game. Yeah, let's go down 1 Phantom. Let's go down 1 Giver of Runes. Maybe 1 Ephemerate. Let's try it like that. So we really like the Ether Vial to fight through the counter spells. That's the big one. If we don't actually have to cast our spells, life is so much easier against these blue decks. And that's what Ether Vial does. It just lets us put everything we need into play without actually having to cast them. I mean, no Ether Vial, but this is a good enough hand that I think we got to keep it. Can use some tax collecting. Scalding Tarn for our opponent. Passes. Well, play the Plains and Giver of Runes. And go. Opponent cracks the Scalding Tarn. We need a Cat Jesus to go with these Ghost Quarters. Where's our Leonin Arbiter? Opponent Thundering Falls mills the Snapcaster. And Island. Tamiyo kills a Giver. All right. Well, opponent casting their stuff. Well, that Tamiyo is annoying. Another Witch Enchanter. Well, play the Ghost Quarter. And we will just play a Tax Collector. And I think we actually just detain the Tamiyo. Rather than taxing the spells, I think we just don't let our opponent attack and make a clue next turn. We've kind of drawn a lot of lands. If you count the Witch Enchanters as lands, we've drawn a lot of lands this game. But at least the Witch Enchanters, I guess, maybe we can use for something other than lands. Preordain. I mean, they might be able to flip the Tamiyo if they have another Preordain. Kind of scared of Tamiyo being flipped here if that happens. And all right, well, Tamiyo's a flippin'. That is probably bad news for us. So Tamiyo flips. Now we got to deal with this problem. Opponent ticks up the Tamiyo. Passes. Oh God, even more lands. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For 1. Play a Plains. And I guess we just pass and like flash in this Phelia. We need to make sure this Tamiyo doesn't ultimate. That is incredibly important. Opponent, another Surveil land. So far, I think our opponents surveilled to the top every single time. And they continue to surveil to the top. If you always surveil to the top, surveillance aren't very good, are they? Opponent, Steam Vents. Takes up the Tamiyo. Passing. Well, we're going to try to flash in a Phelia. Has a Stern Scolding. Okay, that's not good. We draw another Tax Collector. Well, go to combat, attack the Tamiyo. We are playing a very obnoxious sub-game, which is, can we kill the Tamiyo before it wins the game? It is not the most fun sub-game. If this does draw half our opponent's deck, we scoop. Like, I know it doesn't say win the game, but it means win the game. Those are what those words mean. Back down to 4 for now. Play a Tax Collector. Opponent's going to cast a Dress Down to fizzle its ability. And we'll play a Ghost Quarter, another Tax Collector, and we'll pass the turn. All right, opponent, your go. Dress Down goes away. So our Tax Collectors, sadly not going to collect any taxes, But at least they can attack Tamios. That's better than nothing. Opponent takes up Tamio. We just cannot get through this Tamio. Solitude. Well, we will go to combat. We will attack the we probably should have played a Witch Enchanter first untapped. Attack the Tamio. Just because of Snapcaster, there is a world where we want to flash this in. Wow. That is kind of the most disastrous outcome for not playing this Witch Enchanter. Going to kill a Tax Collector and block with Snapcaster. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a punt. I think we should have just played it untapped. I even said it. Found it. Well, we will play a Witch Enchanter untapped. Well, I mean, I guess it actually didn't matter in the end. And we'll run out the Solitude. While your opponent's tapped down. Get rid of the Snapcaster. So in the end, I guess the punt didn't hurt us at all because our opponent didn't even block with the Snapcaster. They wanted to leave it out. All right. Pass the turn. Can we kill a Tamio? We've spent the last million turns attacking this silly Tamio. Its +1 is actually like very, like, this is a good testimony to how powerful Tamio is. Like, it flipped easily on like turn 1, and then it's just been impossible to kill because it just like the +1 makes it so hard to slog through this stupid card. And like, maybe your opponent's gonna give up on it now. Okay, opponent gives up on it. They finally say, all right, I'm just going to get back a Flame of Venor. I'm going to play another land. I have a Flame of Venor, so I can draw a bunch of cards and try to beat you that way. So we untap. I mean, we probably still lose from this Tamio, honestly. 1 and 2, play a Tax Collector. We have drawn a lot of Tax Collectors. Tax your spells. So we will send 2 at Tamio, 1 at our opponent. We got to make sure the Tamio finally, for the love of God, dies. We did it. It took 6 turns, but we beat down a Tamio. All right, pass the turn. Found it. So our opponent can't cast the Flame of Venor this turn because of the Tax Collector. They can cast it during their turn, but opponent just gets it. I thought they might cast it in response, but they didn't. Plays a Hall of the Storm Giants. And, well, I mean, that's not really a problem because we got Ghost Quarter. Well, I mean, the Tax Collectors are relentless. They never leave you alone. Ether Vial on turn 7. Classic Ether Vial. Well, go to combat. Opponent. Lightning Bolts the Solitude. Drops to 10. Well, we will run out a Witch Enchanter. And pass the turn. They could have sweepers. They are kind of a control deck, right? Like, it is not impossible that our opponent has a sweeper. They're definitely going to draw more cards. Oh, they have a Snapcaster. Okay, so they can Snapcaster a Lightning Bolt. Snapcaster the Lightning Bolt. So I want to set up the full Flame of Venor. And we don't have a way to deal with the Snapcaster, so it is going to work. So they're going to be able to kill something and draw 2 cards. Kills the Witch Enchanter. Yeah, I don't know if we can slog through these last few points of damage or not. We're going to try. That Tamio gained our opponent probably like 30 life or something. It was a literally absurd amount of life that Tamio gained. It was over the top amount of life. It's been a very weird draw. We've kind of just drawn all Tax Collectors. Opponent, Preordained. Matchups like this, is Tax Collector better than something like Phelia? I'm not actually sure if it is. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a bad sign. If our opponent is attacking with the Snapcaster, that means they feel like they got this game kind of wrapped up, I think. That is usually something the control deck doesn't do, unless they feel like, okay, we have this on lock. Phelia. Well, we'll go to combat. We'll attempt to do some attacking. Yeah, I mean, our opponent's the control deck, so they're going to win the late game. That's kind of how it goes. Because we have 45 cards left in our deck. Our opponent has 34, so they're like plus 11 cards on us. So I guess considering the amount of like cards our opponent's drawn to what we've drawn, if this is another Flame of Venor, oh god, another Flame of Venor, down to 8, and run out a Ether Vial. But opponent's got 5 cards in hand, 5 Magic the Gathering cards. We have 0 Magic the Gathering cards in hand. Opponent untaps. We really need to do the like White Orchid Phantom stuff, I think. Opponent finds even more Tamios. Another Lightning Bolt. Gonna get in with the Snapcaster. What could we draw that would be helpful? I guess like resolving a Recruiter of the Guard would be a start. Well, all right, Ether Vial ticking up. Yeah, but all those Flame of Venors, another Ghost Quarter. All right. I mean, well, we'll pass. All these Ghost Quarters don't really do anything without yeah. Now the Tamio draws cards. Opponent cracks it. We just don't really have reach, right? We're a mono white deck, so it's not like we can chain together some bolts or something to close out the game. Gets in with the Tamiyo, makes a clue. Sabana has officially drawn half of their deck now. We've officially drawn one card more than a quarter of our deck. Card advantage-wise, this matchup is not even close. Found it. We need to disrupt them earlier in the game somehow. And apparently just a bunch of tax collectors not gonna do it. Well, we'll take up the Ether Vial. All right, we're gonna call it a day. I know we're at 16, but there's just realistically, there's no way we're gonna break through the lock that our opponent has us in there. So the Firewalker maybe actually isn't that good. Bring back in the White Orchid Phantom, and let's just run it like that. Let's run it like that. We get to play first. I mean, we're gonna keep this. Ether Vial is really, man. Ether Vial is really good. If this Ether Vial gets dealt with, we get dealt with too, because we have kept the one lander. But all right, Ether Vial, go. Could use a Leonin Arbiter maybe. About it. Spire Bluff Canal. Passing. Well, let's take up the Vial. Drawing into their land is also fine. Solitude. Oh boy. Missing this land drop tells our opponent they should really blow up our Ether Vial, which is not the message we want to be sending. Hull of the Storm Giants and passing. Well, let's put the Giver into play. Going to kill the Giver. All right, can we draw land? Can we draw 8 land? That would be really sweet. So take up the Vial to 2. We draw a plane, so that's good. We get to Ether Vial, put a Tax Collector into play. Make your spells cost 1 more. Tax Collector. Well, this is a good test. This is a good test. Is Tax Collector actually worth it? We have 2 of them. Our opponent is not going to be casting spells next turn, most likely. They are 2/2s. There's no Tamiyo to slow them down this game. Is it enough? Is it enough to matter? So opponent kind of time walk by the Tax Collector. Opponent says, how many Tax Collectors are you playing? 20. Yeah, we have drawn a absurd amount of Tax Collectors, that's for sure. Opponent, Misty Rainforest. Passing. Leonin Arbiter would be a cute draw to maybe snipe that fetch land. Well, we untap. We keep the Vial on 2 this turn, I think. Go to combat, do some attacking, take some beats down to 16. Well, I mean, we're gonna pass the turn. We can put a White Orchid Phantom into play. We can flash a Phelia into play. Gets the Surveil land, leaves it on top, of course. Oh, they milled a Spell Snare. That actually would have got this Phelia if they kept it. Passing. Well, let's Ether Vial. Opponent. Cracking the Flooded Strand. So I want to do something in response to the Ether Vial. Tishana's Tidebinder. Okay, so opponent's going to Tidebinder the Ether Vial. Well, we can still run out the Phelia. Opponent has a Stern Scolding. So many counters. Draw an Aven Interrupter that we can't currently cast. Well, go to combat, get in with the Tax Collectors, keep the beatdowns rolling. Opponent down to 10. White Orchid Phantom, blow up the Hall of the Storm Giants. We know our opponent has basics. They had 3 islands in game 1, so we know they have at least 2 more islands. Pass the turn. Do we just need to kill this Tidebinder to turn off Flame of Venor? Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna Solitude. We're gonna pitch the Thrabes. Wow. Okay, so opponent does definitely have Flame of Venor because they're going to Subtlety. So Subtlety dies. Solitude we will put to the bottom. All right. Well, so opponent's going to Flame of Venor for sure. They're going to draw 2 and kill something. There's no way they do that if they don't have Flame of Venor in hand. Bolts the White Orchid Phantom. Bolts the Tax Collector. Okay, maybe they have a bunch of lightning bolts. And a Tamiyo. All right, well, that's not good. Oh, Tamiyo is so unbeatable. Opponent gets in, it says. The card advantage, like that's the problem, right? The card advantage, we just cannot beat. Opponent hits us. And now the Tax Collector is looking pretty silly. We draw planes. Not a card that does anything though. We pass the turn. And I got that sinking feeling that it's slipping away. Oh, we were so close. How did they have Subtlety and double Lightning Bolt? Well, maybe Taxes is just not good enough anymore. Maybe it's not good enough anymore, opponent. Gonna get in with the Tamiyo to draw another card. Yeah, see, this is the problem. Like, once we get to this point, there's just it doesn't feel like there's any getting back from this point. Like, our opponent just gets to draw extra cards every turn. We do not get to draw extra cards every turn. Or any turn. And we just slowly lose the game. Like, slowly, painfully, 1 Flame of Venor into 1 Lightning Bolt into opponent crack the clue off the top. Like, It's just slowly gonna drown us. Opponent gonna block with the Tishana's Tidebinder. Just kidding. They're not gonna block with the Tidebinder. Opponent. Well, we passed the turn. That's a pretty bad sign for us. So opponent gets a clue. Gets in with Tamiyo. Gets in with the Tidebinder. Down to 14. Makes another clue. There's a Flame of Venor. Well, we will even Interrupter it, which slows it down, but doesn't stop it permanently. Ephemerate, maybe? Giver of Runes. Well, we'll go to combat. We'll do some attacking. We'll hit our opponent. The funny thing is, if we had made our opponent play out game one, they actually would have been in a real risk of timing out. I don't really like trying to win that way. So I think we did the right thing by conceding, because I would have conceded normally, but opponent's down to like 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. So if we had like actually just been like, there's no way we can win, but our life total is high, so we're going to stick it out. Seems like there's a decent chance our opponent actually would have ended up running out of time there. So opponent can Flame of Venor now to kill the Interrupter and draw a bunch of cards and flip their Tamiyo. Ticks up the Tamiyo and plays a Misty Rainforest. Useless land. Well, play the Ghost Quarter. Pass the turn. I mean, our opponent might still be in danger of timing out, honestly. Misty to get a Surveil land. Surveils to the top. Well, in that case, do we want a Ghost Quarter to make them shuffle? Yeah, let's do it. We're going to Ghost Quarter, make them shuffle. We know they have another basic, so it's not going to stop them, but it gets rid of whatever they surveil to the top. All right, they're going to crack the clue, so they can draw what they put on the top anyway. Opponent grabs island number 3. Well, we untap, or our opponent untaps. At this point, it really is a race against the clock for our opponent, I think. I don't think it's likely. Well, we'll see. Opponent's at 3. That's not a lot of life. I don't know how we get in those last 3 points of damage. Opponent has even more Flame of Venors. All right, so we will protect the tax collector. Opponent's going to draw some cards. Opponent takes up the Tamiyo. Attacks into the pro-blue tax collector. I don't know why they wanted that to die, but apparently they wanted it to die. We'll take up our vial. Ooh, wow. Okay, that actually is a ridiculously big draw. That is oh my god, that's our one of Skyclave. That can answer the Tamiyo. Wait. Attack our opponent for 1. When do we do it? Why did they want that to die? I'm so confused. I'm worried about another Tidebinder. So if we if we pass, they could potentially Tidebinder the Vial activation. Actually, you know what? We're not gonna risk it. We're gonna Vial. We're gonna put Skyclave into play. Get rid of the Tamiyo. That was a very good draw. Opponent counters it with Consigned to Memory. Not sure why Consigned to Memory is in their deck, but okay. Opponent, Steam Vents. I mean, in theory, our creatures are lethal. In practice, I don't have a lot of faith. Opponent takes down the Tamiyo to get a Lightning Bolt. Wow, opponent is feeling the pressure then. Opponent's gonna bolt the Skyclave. Nothing under it because they stifled the trigger. And Galvanic Discharge to take down the tax collector. All right, our board is empty. Passes. Come on. Recruiter. We want a recruiter. Vial get his day on 3. Phelia. Okay, well, that's something we can play. Somehow we have drawn not a ton of lands this game, which is working out for us. Opponent takes up Tamiyo. Passing. Well, we're going to play the Phelia. Vial stays on 3. Go to combat. I think we blink the Tamiyo. Blink out the Tamiyo, so our opponent is not going to be able to get back a removal spell. Not going to be able to ultimate. It does give them a blocker to 1. This has been the grindiest game. The grind. Opponent gets back Tamiyo. I don't know if Tamiyo is going to be that beneficial here, though, just because our opponent is running low on clock. Opponent gets in. Going to make a clue. Going to crack the clue to draw a card. Finds a bolt for the Phelia. Opponent passes. Well, now I think we actually have to tick up the Vial since we have a 4 in hand. 4 is not an especially useful number, but it is useful with Witch Enchanter. Okay, 1, 2. Well, that's White Orchid Phantom. It's a body. We only need 1 point. Stern Scolding. We need 1 point of dang damage. Just die already. Die, Tamiyo. Die. My god. My god about it. So now we can put this Witch Enchanter into play. try to attack for 1. Bonnet gets in with the Tamiyo, makes a clue. Well, we're going to Ether Vial. We're going to put Witch Enchanter into play. We're going to blow up the clue. We're going to take up to an opponent scoops it up my... Oh, there's a recruiter finally. Ah, and another recruiter finally. Ah, and a text. Okay, we were finally going to draw them. That was a grindy match. I don't know how we got that. That was like, wow. Those last points of damage, our opponent put up the walls of control, slogging through just so much removal, so many counters, and our creatures are so small that we're just getting in for such tiny hits of damage. But and then we got there. We taxed him. Tax collector. We are doing some tax collecting in Modern, and this hand looks pretty fine. I mean, we are on the draw. We have a Leonin Arbiter into Ghost Quarter. If it's a little noisy today, it's my AC, my central air died last night, and I have a window AC in, and it's a little louder than my normal AC. So if there's some background noise, it's just me trying not to die on this humid 90-degree day without my air conditioning. Opponent gonna lead on a Preordain. Oh god. Is this Tamiyo again? We played Tamiyo way too many times in this video. Why? Why is everyone playing Tamiyo? Flagstones of Torquir, go. We might want to legend rule ourselves with this Flagstones before we Leonin Arbiter so we don't end up fizzling our fetch. About it. Untaps and Flooded Strand and Tamiyo. Okay, well, we called it. So let's untap. Float a mana. Play another Flagstones. Keep the new Flagstones. And run out a Leonin Arbiter. Opponent gonna crack their fetch in response. Thundering Falls. I mean, we got Ghost Quarters in hand. Well, we also have a dead Leonin Arbiter. Preordains. I mean, we do have the Skyclave to answer the Tamiyo. Opponent gets in. We will play a Plains and run out the Skyclave. Get rid of the Tamiyo. So opponent got a clue out of Tamiyo, but that could have been way worse. Opponent. Ooh, passing? Okay, that's not bad. Well, play the Ghost Quarter. Go to combat. Get in with the Skyclave Apparition. I can't believe we're playing against this deck so much. What are the chances that we play against this Tamiyo deck 3 times in a league? Gonna take the beats. So they're gonna crack the clue. Do we run out the Recruiter? Let's just wait. Let's just wait and Phelia. Wow, they didn't even crack the clue. I am shocked. Wait, they missed the land drop past the turn. Interesting. Well, let's run out Phelia. Opponent, gonna let it go. We untap. We draw another Phelia. Well, let's play the Ghost Quarter. Dare we Recruiter of the Guard? Huh. Let's go to combat attack. I think we go attack and try to blink the clue with Phelia. Opponent's gonna bolt the Phelia. Sure. Well, we'll go to combat. We'll get in with this Skyclave. Man, if we could have that Leonin Arbiter, we would be absolutely wrecking our opponent with these Ghost Quarters. Get in with the Skyclave. Gonna take the beats. Counterspell so likely. Yeah, let's just pass. Pass, run out another Phelia. Opponent finally remembers the clue, draws a card. Wow, still no land drop? Alright, well, let's run out another Phelia. Yeah, opponent's having some serious land issues now. We untap. Ooh, we draw Tax Collector. That's kind of cute. Play a Tax Collector. What we're really trying to set up here is resolving this Recruiter of the Guard. Tax Collector. Make your spells cost 1 more. In response, opponent's going to run out a Tishana's Tidebinder, which this is actually fine. So they're going to stifle the trigger, but we get to Witch Enchanter, untapped, Recruiter of the Guard, snag a Leonin Arbiter, and then Ephemerate, the Recruiter of the Guard, and tutor up a... Yeah, let's go Tax Collector. Go to combat, do some attacking. This was exactly what we were trying to set up. Phelia, blink the Recruiter of the Guard. So opponent can block the Phelia if they want to, or I guess the Skyclave. I imagine if you're gonna block something, you block Phelia. Wow, opponent's just gonna let it go. All right, opponent drops to 9. We get back the Recruiter of the Guard again, and this time we will tutor up. Let's just keep taking Tax Collectors. I feel like the Tax Collectors are actually super good with our opponent missing land drops, and we still have another Ephemerate coming. And if our opponent taps down, Leonin Arbiter with these Ghost Quarters is going to absolutely end our opponent's day. Opponent, Flame of Enor on the Phelia. Draws a couple of cards, kills a dork, plays an island. I mean, they need a counter. Can they even 1/2/1/2? They can't even really do it. So we get to rebound the Ephemerate on the Recruiter of the Guard. Keep on tutoring. Opponent's going to force a negation it, pitching invert polarity. Sure. Wow, that's a third Ghost Quarter. Okay, so 1/2. We will play a Tax Collector. Make your spells cost 1 more. Oh, this is going to be so brutal. This is kind of the dream. Then we will play Cat Jesus. And then we will Ghost Quarter you. And then we will Ghost Quarter you. And then we'll play another Ghost Quarter and Ghost Quarter you. And go to combat. Do a little attacking. Get in, hit ya. Our opponent can no longer cast spells down to a single land, and they're being tax collected. This is kind of the dream. Pass the turn. Steam Vents, down to 5, and opponent passes. We will play a Tax Collector, and opponent going to kill the Leonin Arbiter. We'll make your spells cost 1 more. Go to combat, swing with everything. Opponent, gonna go to 1. Yep, and Tax Collector Tron, best Tron. It's working. Scoops it up, and the taxes have been collected. That was actually very impressive of Tax Collector. We kinda just absolutely wrecked them. As much as I didn't really want to play against the same deck over and over and over again, it is working. I will give it that. Oh, this grindy matchup, my god. So what do we want against Tamiyo Part 49? So Skyclave seems good. Even Interrupter, a copy, probably necessary. Do we want a path? Like, how important is pathing? Is pathing the Tamiyo? I mean, we have Solitude for it, right? Maybe we bring in 1 path and go down what? Maybe like 1 Giver of Runes. Probably the Delny, unfortunately. I really like Delny in the deck, but in 1 Ephemerate, let's try it like that. All right, on to game 2. Are we the Tamiyo Assassins? What are the chances that we played a Modern League and did not play against, not do a single time, but played against Tamiyo Is It 3 times? Opponent leads on the Preordain. Leaning pretty hard on this Ether Vial. A Leonin Arbiter, well, Ghost Quarter, and Ether Vial, go. Well, we do need to draw lands. That would be helpful. Opponent, Flooded Strand, and Tamiyo. Opponent, gonna pass. Can we draw land, please? Please. Take up the Vial. Land. Okay, we draw the land. That is pretty huge. Drawing a land here is pretty huge. We could play the Arbiter, but it doesn't really do anything because they'll crack their fetch in response. Let's pass the turn. Might have to just Solitude the Tamiyo. So Solitude Tamiyo, pitching the Aven Interrupter. And we're not going to scam it. We could Ephemerate it. We mostly want to make sure that they can't Flame of Enor, draw cards, and blow up Ether Vial. That is the biggest blowout this turn. If they can do that, it's really bad for us. Scries to the, or Surveils to the graveyard with a Flame of Enor too. Found it. Spire Bluff Canal land. Well, take up the Vial. We draw Witch Enchanter, which actually isn't bad. So we can Witch Enchanter, untapped. Let's just pass for now. I think what we're going to do is Violin the Arbiter and try to Ghost Quarter. If our opponent taps down for Flame of Enor, there's a Flame, draw 2 cards. All right, so we will Ether Vial, put a Arbiter into play, Ghost Quarter 1 of your lands. Opponent untaps, Spire Bluff Canal, pass. All right, so on our upkeep, we are going to put the Ether Vial trigger on the stack. In response, Vial, put a White Orchid Phantom into play. Target your Spire Bluff Canal. Opponent going to Flame of Enor. So in response, Ephemerate the Arbiter. Get it back. fizzle it, blow up your land forever. Now we can take up the Vial. We draw planes, we play the planes, and pass the turn. Opponent's down to 2 lands. We've gone through 3 Flame of Venor so far. Opponent, what do you got? All right, they're finally going to get rid of the Leonin Arbiter. They found a way, for now. And plays a fetch land. I mean, our opponent might still be in okay shape here. They might still be in pretty good shape. Gets an island. Preordains. I mean, they only have 3 cards in hand. I guess we don't have that many cards in hand either. We do get to Recruiter of the Guard, though. Lightning Bolt. Okay. This actually works out pretty well, though, because what we get to do here is, on our upkeep, put our triggers on the stack, Ether Vial, put a Recruiter of the Guard into play, Tutor, let's go Arbiter, Vial's going to stay on 3, then we get to rebound, blink the Recruiter of the Guard, White Orchid Phantom? Let's go Phantom, see if we draw a land. Ooh, we draw an Ephemerate, oh my god. Okay, that's pretty good. Ephemerate the Recruiter of the Guard. Tax Collector. Play the Tax Collector. Make your spells cost 1 more. Untaps. Under the tax. Tax Collector might actually be really good. We do need to get some pressure going to close out this game. Opponent. Wow. Untapped MDFC. Down to 15. Well, maybe we just need to wait for our opponent to kill themselves with their MDFCs. Well, Ephemerate. Gonna go after the Recruiter of the Guard. Opponent's going to Snapcaster for a Lightning Bolt. Alright, Snapcaster Bolt. Gonna fizzle the Ephemerate. Oh, Vial stays on 3. Solitude. Not the best, not the best. Opponent's going to take it, and then we will play a Leonin Arbiter. We were kind of hoping to just hit a... Alright, Stern Scolding. Opponent is officially out of cards, though, and 3 of their Flame of Venors are in the graveyard. Opponent untaps. Opponent goes to combat. Opponent gets and hits us for 2. And, well, Vial. Do we start? Yeah, let's start ticking up. We're going to tick up. Pat the Exile. Well, go to combat. Get in with the Tax Collector. Down to 11. White Orchid Phantom. Blow up a Spire Bluff Canal. Opponent going to bolt it, sure. I assume our opponent has another basic. Yeah, gets an island. Well, pass the turn. That's fine. We have an answer for that. Down to 13. Well, let's take up the Vial to 5 for Solitude. Solitude can get rid of this Tamiyo before it does anything. Giver of Runes. Giver's fine. Let's Ether Vial. Put the Solitude into play. Get rid of the Tamiyo. And go to combat. Get in with the Tax Collector. I think we've maybe taxed through another Tamiyo deck somehow. Giver of Runes. Go. About it. Need something. We are winning the race currently, opponent. Another Tamiyo. Passing. Path the Tamiyo. We got basics still? We got basics? They do. Basic number 3, sure. Well, Vial gonna stay on 5. We're so close to closing this out. Stay on 5. Witch Enchanter. Well, go to combat. If our opponent blocks, we'll just save the creature with Giver. Wow, no blocks. All right, opponent. Down to 4. Opponent needs a big draw. What do they find? They need like a Flame of Venor, I think. Passing. Well, Vial. Kind of useless at this point, but leave it at 5. We draw Skyclave Apparition. Do we just cast it? If it resolves, we win. The worst case is what? The worst case is they top decked invert polarity. They win the coin flip, stop the Skyclave, exile the Giver, and can block? What are the odds though? That needs, like, they would have had to top deck it exactly, and they need to win the coin flip. We gotta try it. Skyclave. Even a normal counter is fine, as long as it's not invert polarity, win the coin flip. Wow, scoops it up, and we finish with the 3-2. So we get a treasure chest. Not the most diverse league we've ever played. There were a lot of Tamiyo matchups along the way. Oddly, I think we played Tamiyo 3 times, and we won every time, and then we lost our 2 other matches, but Tax Collector actually seems pretty legit. Is it actually better than Phelia? That's a question. Is it actually better? That's where I'm not 100% sure. Well, 1 treasure chest. Crack it open. Sometimes that's all it takes. Let's get a Lazov. Lazov, Wearer of Faces, Increasing Ambition. Increasing Ambition, this is like old school commander card. I used to play Increasing Ambition in a lot of decks. Kind of been power crept though, like 5 mana tutor is really slow, and then 8 mana to double tutor, while very powerful, also often means you die, right? Like you tutor up your 2 best cards, and the rest of the table's like, I guess I gotta kill you before you play those cards, because they're gonna be really good. So that's kind of the issue with it. I could see like Mono Black Devotion, like a Coffers deck where you can make absurd amounts of mana. Maybe it'd be worth it there, but yeah, it's one of those cards that I used to play a lot and don't really play. And then Tolsimir, the Midnight Elf. Midnight Light. What one is, oh, this is the MKM one. Yeah, never actually made it. Well, that is Tax Collector, and I know the matchups in this league weren't that diverse, but the deck actually worked pretty well. I will say, so let's do a little wrap up on this deck. So what will I say about the deck? So first off, why do we play this deck? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One of the big ones is we wanted to try Tax Collector and see if Tax Collector was actually good in Modern. And coming away from this, I feel like the answer, at least in a deck like this, that has Phelia, that has Ephemerate, that can reuse it, is actually yes. We got to see Tax Collector be really good. The difference, so Phelia, of course, very powerful in a lot of matchups. It just sits out and constantly tax. The upside of Tax Collector, though, is it taxes everything. And the ability to tax creature spells along with non-creature spells really, really, really big. It just like forces your opponent to play off curve. It ruins their plans. So it's a really big tempo swing. And then the detain ability is actually oddly kind of relevant too. That's not the one we use most often. Most of the time we're taxing spells, but we did see times where like taking a turn off from getting hit by a Murktide, for example, or even just stopping Tameo from making a clue was actually really relevant. So Tax Collector, I think it actually is a really good card. We also got to see, despite some of the clunkiness with like Recruiter the Guard Leonin Arbiter, White Orchid Phantom Leonin Arbiter, pretty powerful package, again with the blink stuff thrown in. So I was very impressed with that. The one challenge the deck has is it doesn't close out games quickly. And I don't know if that's a problem we need to solve. So one option for solving that problem would be to find a way to fit Stoneforge in the deck, like Stoneforge with a Cauldron Complete and maybe a sword of some kind or something. But just play like a Stoneforge package. So then you know, like, okay, if I need to close out the game fast, I Stoneforge up the Cauldron and that can beat you down. Is it necessary? I don't know. We did a pretty good job of grinding people out. But when things go badly and we fall behind on board, we are mostly left, you know, playing 2/2s and 1/2s and so forth. Like it's kind of 2/2 tribal if you look at our deck. It's like, I guess Solitude is our big bomb is a 3/2, but really everything's a 1/1 or a 2/2. So it's not like we have these big powerful catch-up cards, but when we can get ahead and like do the tempo thing and tax our opponent and do this sneaky like Ephemerate to blink the White Orchid Phantom with the Leonin Arbiter out to get rid of your lands, actually really, really powerful. So if you like annoying people and taxing people, I think the Tax Collector might actually be legit. So I'm going to say at least Tax Collector. That is one legit Modern card from Assassin's Creed. Let me know what else from Assassin's Creed should we try? Is there anything else on the list that we should try? Let me know. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.